a very crisp January day, and beautiful sunshine is out, and so I'm going to take you around and show you some of the natives that provide winter interest throughout all seasons. First up, over here, last year I used that as my little Snoopy Christmas tree. I'm not sure I picked the best specimen, but that's an Eastern red cedar. It is a specific variety, and I will get that name for you and put it up on the screen. And then I have that interplanted with golden Alexanders, and the golden Alexanders do a really nice job of staying evergreen all year long. Okay, and I apologize, I meant to kind of give my yard a tidy up, but I have been so sick that I'm just going to go ahead and film this video. Right here is a plant that I wish I could get more of, growing more. I know for some people it grows very enthusiastically, but this is wild basil. I'll put the scientific name up on the screen. It has beautiful purple blooms. If you had like a whole swath of that all standing up supporting each other in the winter, that would look really beautiful. Around the edge, you all know that I like to line my beds with different Caryxes, sedges. This is Caryx blanda, and you know, now that my eye has adjusted over the years to the beauty of something that might not be so pristine, I love these little clusters all year long, and I still think it adds some formality. And these will get cut back all to the ground in the spring. And right here we have a Maryland dwarf holly. Eventually the plan is for this dwarf holly to take up this whole area. They grow really big, and I got them as tiny little sprigs. Something I did this year, I have Caryx Lorida, I'm not sure the pronunciation, and I like to leave those over the winter, but they do look a little bit messy. Trying to turn this more of a native shrub bed with a little bit more formality. So what I did this year is I combed it over with a rake, and it made these really beautiful mounds, and then all the insects can live up in there. So instead of it looking untidy, it has this mounding effect and provides a lot of habitat. And these two I had to cut back a little bit because I think you remember I've been doing a lot of rearranging. And then down here I have tufts of fox sedge popping through. And now here in Caesar's garden, of course, I am going to mention my Christmas fern. I love Christmas fern. It does stay green. It's evergreen. It does flop over, which in the winter I don't care. I just like to see those pops of green around in my garden, and I'm looking to add more and more to that as we move on. More Christmas fern. I'll show you this. It's not a plant, but this is an area, it's an old oak tree stump that the oak tree died, and I've been using this area as habitat for any of my wildlife friends. Down in there, in that trunk, is almost like a little hole, a perfect place for, you know, somebody to nest or to get warm. And I just keep covering this with sticks and branches and things like this to make this a, you know, better and better habitat for somebody. But you'll see I have Caryx laxicomus or Flacosperma, one of the two. I'll call it blue sedge, growing naturally here, probably seeded from some of my others. And then I have this fern that has started to grow naturally out of the tree stump. You'll also see all this beautiful moss. I don't know, guys, to me that little intentional wildlife habitat is pretty beautiful. Now, of course, I can't walk past this tree without pointing out its beauty. And I have these everywhere, and these are American hollies, and the birds just go crazy for the berries in the winter. They swarm these trees, and I don't know if there's a name for it. I looked it up before and I can't remember if there was ever a name for it, but they all swarm en masse these trees like at the same time and eat the berries. And I have loads of American holly seedlings everywhere, and I'm starting to transplant those in other areas for some privacy on the back side. Okay, next up, you all know whitewood aster. Okay, it's beautiful all year long. Look at those beautiful dead seed heads. Love that. Here's another carex sedge in the middle of January. This one is, I think it's satin leaf sedge. It's so pretty. It reminds me of plantain leaf sedge, but with a muted, very muted, matte look to the leaves. And you know what, guys? A couple years ago, I started popping in root cuttings of Allegheny spurge, and I told you I wanted the floor to be covered with this when nothing else was growing, and it's happening. It's actually happening, and I think I'll probably link to that video so you can see. So a lot of times it's very difficult for me to do before and afters because I'm dealing with seedlings, tiny little seedlings, growing things from seeds, so I don't get a lot of instant greenery. And here in maybe a month and a half, it is going to put on a show, and their blooms are like fireworks, but I'll show you those when it happens. And then right here is partridge berry. And then one of our friends in the comments had asked about partridge berry and leaf litter. Well, there's some of my partridge berry. So we have over here more carex. I think this is Carex grizzia, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have more of the blue sedges going down around there. Again, I really wanted to have the edges cleaned up for you for this tour, but I just couldn't get to it. And I think this is a good example, again, of an area where I've been trying to get the ground covered so that I can have green all year long here and lots of habitat. So now I'm going to back up here a little bit to my little in-ground pond, and you'll see more blue sedge. And then one that I haven't mentioned yet is the golden ragwort. Believe it or not, guys, deer will eat everything, because you can see here they should not be eating the golden ragwort. They haven't, but it looks like they ate it and decided against it, but all the big leaves are gone there. Golden ragwort, more blue sedge, golden ragwort, Christmas fern. So yeah, this is another spot where I've done a lot of the Allegheny spurge. It may be worth it to see a shot in the shade. Okay, now over here, this is something that I'm growing from seed this year, and I absolutely love it. I grow it in my ponds for dragonfly habitat, but this is in my dry creek bed, which it rained like crazy the other day, and they like a really moist environment. And so that's Juncus effusus, and I think that's common rush is the common name. There's another one, and what I want to eventually do, because I do like this area, it gets really wet, is have it kind of colonized through. And then here is more blue sedge hopping around. Again, that is either Carex laxicolmus or Carex flacosperma. And so eventually, you know, getting this all interplanted with evergreens. An area that I really love that I show you guys a lot, especially in the spring, is all this golden ragwort in the floor of the bird garden. So covering the ground, like all these great ground covers here. Here is an eastern red cedar. I had a little seedling somewhere else in the yard, and I'm trying to put more oaks in this area. I think it's a chinkapin or a chinapin. One's a chinapin and one's a chestnut oak. But then I have an eastern red cedar there, and I also put one back over there. Something I'm doing more and more on is in the very late fall, I just went and grabbed a bunch of golden ragwort seedlings and popped them into this, you know, pile of dirt. A lot of this dirt is from when I've done edging and I didn't have anywhere to put it. And so hopefully this spring or summer, this will be entirely covered with golden ragwort. And I also popped in a bunch of golden ragwort through here, just little ones, so there's not a mass for me to really show you. So hopefully this area starts taking over with golden ragwort. I think that would be so beautiful in the spring, because the bird garden with the golden ragwort all blooming in the spring is gorgeous. And then having this whole area too would just be like that. Here are northern sea oats. These look really pretty in the sun, in the backlit sun, and in the wind. These are very aggressive though if you use them in your yard. Right here is another pile of sticks. I know it probably seems ridiculous to you, but there is a little bit of organization in there to make it look intentional but natural at the same time. And this is just a perfect place for insects to hibernate and all sorts of wildlife. I'm going to show you something else. I can't remember if I've showed you this before. Back here is like my dead hedge, not my dead hedge, but my, you know, like stick pile. I think there's a word for it, I can't remember. Anyways, I just every year put more and more on here, but if I take the camera back, I think you can see little holes. I'm almost positive that some of these little holes you see here are proof, you know, of what might be living in here. And so I just keep encouraging this pile, and you know, for the wildlife that come to my yard to live and eat and have sanctuary. Something else that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get Virginia creeper to grow all over it. I haven't been so successful yet. I did do a lot of planting and seeding in this area here, and then the Virginia creeper around there to maybe go over to even provide more like naturally occurring habitat. Now right here what we have is bottle brush grass, and I usually cut those back to about 12 to 18 inches, leave the stalks for the wildlife and also for support for the new growth. And then look at all these little patches of green. It's really pretty and really cheerful in the landscape. Okay guys, now you know one of my absolute favorites here. This is my carpet of green and gold in the middle of January. So you can see what it looks like. It kind of shrinks a little bit in the winter and gets tinges of purple, but it pretty much stays evergreen. And that is an entire mat of green and gold, and green and gold is going to like shade. Don't put this stuff in full sun, and it can take medium and dry soils, or this soil is pretty wet. It can take a range of soils in my experience. I also have it, obviously it's not as old, growing down the side of my driveway. So the patch is not nearly as old as what I have over there, but hopefully this will grow in. Now this is a lot drier of an area. I think these are cute. Like when these get older and more mature, this is side oats gamma. That's really pretty for winter interest, don't you think? Like the curlicues, corkscrews of that. Here's another Maryland dwarf holly. And then my mounds of Carex amphibola. Carex amphibola likes shade and wet. Over here, I have my group of 3 of eastern red cedar grayouts. So those will eventually take up that area. Here's more golden ragwort. This is kind of where I'm taking from and planting out in the woodland. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this here or make this dwarf native shrubs. This one, this shrub right here is a little lemon 9 bark. Let's go, bye. Violet. Violet, what are you doing? What are you doing? You want to say hi? You want to... Guys, check this out. He is so confused. This is my golden Alexander. It's blooming. It's been blooming for like a month now. Now, granted, golden Alexander will bloom really, really early. That's what they look like when they're fresh new blooms. And then you can see if you wanted to, if you have a large area and wanted it to self-seed everywhere, these would be huge spikes sticking up in the air over the winter and look really, really pretty. Okay guys, that is it for today. I will put up a video here about me reintroducing myself in case you guys have never had any background information on me. I would love it if you would like and subscribe if this is content that appeals to you. And thank you for taking your time to join me today walking around. Happy gardening, and I will catch you again next time.